Hi, Bilal.
Hi, and again, what's up?
Not much. Good day to talk about something we've been talking about for a long time, which is innovation, this big buzzword, right?
Yeah.
So, innovation in Pakistan, you've been looking at schools everywhere. You roam around, there are these boards that say innovative school, most innovative school, they'll advertise
Yeah.
innovative. So, what does an innovative school, what does an innovative school mean in Pakistan?
Well, funny thing is, by the way, I don't know, don't think too many schools advertise that in the first place. I think they're afraid of advertising that they're innovative. Only the very new ones that might come out and say, hey, we'll approach a problem. But you can't keep on making new schools for there to be innovation. But that seems to be the only way in Pakistan that you are even seeing any form of innovation. So, first of all, I think, and also what people need to realize is that innovation isn't about technology, which is what everybody has been talking about now. Hey, we've got a couple of apps running. That's innovation. Hey, we've got Zoom now, which is everybody's doing that. That isn't innovation. That's just using technology to serve a purpose that you had to fulfill because COVID shut you down. I mean, these are all tools that were available before. In fact, tools like email that have been the workforce for the last 20 odd years. I remember seeing my first email at the age of 14, and I'm 42. And kids haven't seen email till the last 5 years, but the workforce uses it. So, as far as tools, technological tools are concerned, there's definitely needs to be innovation there, but that's not the only thing that's innovation. So, in Pakistan, we define innovation as okay, we got an app at the door. Hey, you got an ID card that checks in at the door. So big deal. Oh, we will send you homework through email. That is an innovation. In Pakistan, most of the time, innovation has been done to make the school's life easier or to make the teacher's life easier. And that's not why innovation needs to happen. Innovation ka maksad, the purpose of innovation is to find new creative ways to do the same to solve the same problem either better or more equitable. So it provides more opportunity for everybody. So that doesn't go, it's always about how to make life easier and generally. So been in so many schools over the last 20 years. First of all, innovation is frowned upon in those schools because you don't want to disturb the status quo. They like how things are. Their credibility is based on conservatism. Don't change things. We like the way they are. That might apply to religion, but it doesn't apply to education. Things have changed so much in the last 100 years, but we still educate kids the exact same industrial revolution way. I know of all educator friends who will all rave about Sir Ken Robinson, everybody, and they'll claim to have read his book. But anything he says, nobody applies that at all at any place. Yes, you might have some pockets happening in some lower grades, and some schools are doing something, but that's not enough. And we don't get we and nobody talks about this enough. Okay, look, why is it so wrong to talk about innovation in education and innovation not in terms of just technology? So I want to create more conversations around this. I want to keep pushing it. Okay, why is it so bad to talk about innovation? Why can't we innovate? Why can't we make students' lives better by innovating? Because that's nobody talks about that.
So what you're saying is a lot of equating technology with innovation. Is that something that you feel happens in Pakistan? That just because there is technology in place of where there used to be something manual, that's called innovation. But would you like to explain how they're different?
So innovation would just mean that you can solve a problem without even using technology better. You have to, like somebody tells you, this is how the school has been, I guess, let's say teaching erosion. And the teacher should be given enough leverage to come up with a newer, better way to make it more inclusive, to have more kids participate, put them at the center of learning. They can do all of that without using technology. Why do we always have to include technology in innovation? Yes, technology can also catalyze innovation. I'm all for that. I use technology all the time. But I'm not against that. I'm just saying if we pin it on that and we forget all the good work that some teachers who are not very good with technology can do. I mean, we don't even support our teachers to carry out innovation. They're told don't change the status quo. Do this because this has been done before. Because one of the most innovative approaches to education is you put the child at the center of his or her learning, meaning that you let them decide how to do something. But that creates a kind of a uproar in Pakistan because no, how can a student even determine? Like I'll tell you an innovative approach to test correction I did a long time back. This is one of the schools I taught at Bayview. And I got away with it because it was a small class, nobody talked to each other about it. But I took a test once, and I had to ask the kids to grade their own test afterwards in class along with me. And they graded their own test. And they were more concerned about how to grade their test than what they scored. And when you were more concerned about that, they actually learned what to write. And even though exam taking is not even a thing that we want to teach our kids, but let's say we wanted to teach them that, the first thing you should do is how would you correct a paper so that you know how to answer a paper? And we don't do that. And unless you add incentive to that, it won't work. So you can't say, okay, you do a worksheet and you assess that. No, you got to do a test, assess it, and we will include these marks so that you got to also align incentives. You got to align incentives with teachers also. Okay, look, you can only proceed or you can only get an increment if you show evidence of student feedback about that you are being innovative in class. So stuff like that. We don't incentivize any of that, neither for the student, neither for the teacher. So in the end, then what we get paid for is what I stopped doing that also because nobody cared for it. Neither was I getting, I was actually incentivized to do the opposite, to take a quick test, check it in a day, and give it back to the school. Versus this approach would take longer. And then if it take longer, and they'll say, oh no, but you got to finish the syllabus also. So that's another problem that we have to do, always finish the syllabus. Now, we never do that. We just stuck in this rut of doing what we are supposed to do and not using that there are so many innovative ways to do so many things. And because, you see, the teachers are not given the liberty to innovate. You're not told, okay, look, we want you to innovate. And here is leeway. You are free to do some things, experiment, and come back to us and tell us what you did. We just like, okay, every year on year is the exact same thing. The only innovation we see as teachers, especially those who teach standardized subjects, are when the syllabus changes. That's the only change. Forget innovation. Innovation is change for improvement. There's no change. This is just the same thing again and again. And so most of us go into this rut of, okay, let's just do what we've been doing so far. And the only ways upcoming schools innovate is what ways can we get our teachers to teach less to get more kids in the door? Or can we fit more kids in a classroom? How innovative ways, creative ways we can do that? Or what creative ways can we charge them more? That's the level of innovation a school does. And honest to God, that's what it is. Just fit more kids in a class. Let's put a projector. My innovation in classrooms have been, hey, let's put a projector in. Let's put a mic in. Let's put a speaker in. Why? Because now my voice can be projected to 80 kids in a class versus 20. That's my innovation. That's just, that's obvious that you want to put more kids in a class. So there's no actual push from any administration that I've worked with to do that. And the thing with that is they don't want you to do that. They want you to just follow the status quo. Just keep doing what you are meant to do and not innovate, because they're afraid of it, by the way. You try something new. And I know so many teachers who have tried things new and they don't get away with it. I might be able to get away with things because at my age and my experience, people tend to, counter me less. But I know so many young teachers who are trying a new way. They are told, no, don't innovate. Do this because we do it this way. Every new teacher is told, do it this way because they do it that way. Their seniors do it that way. So where's innovation going to come? They're told to follow the line. So, we are back in this same ball game. Education hasn't changed much at all in the last 20 years since I've been teaching. The only thing it has gone different is that instead of me cutting my questions physically on paper and then pasting on paper, I use now computer to do my cut and paste. That's the difference. And a projector. Nothing else has changed.
But Bilal, this really reminds me of the saying that if it's not broken, you don't fix it, right? Maybe one of the biggest concerns that we should have as people who want to innovate education is that there is this denial that it is even broken. There are very few people who actually accept that it is a broken system and needs to innovate. You see, when you said you want to figure out new ways of getting more kids into a class, there is a burning need or a problem that they're trying to fix, which is the bottom line. So the school as a business, right? Which is why they're innovating. So those are the things that actually get all the attention for innovation. And whereas this would be maybe not even considered a problem. That everything is fine, so everything is running.
See, but if there's a problem and you want to fix it, that does create a burning desire to innovate. But you don't have to only innovate when you have a problem. We innovate. The whole idea of innovation is you constantly try to find ways. It's a kida. See, there's that's the thing that's missing in a culture also. There's a thing that, okay, just because something works doesn't mean you don't try to improve it. You always constantly try to improve yourself. That's what always being a better person means. That you've been doing something every year and you know there's a slightly better way I can do it. It is not broken the way I do it, but it can definitely improve. Why don't I try this? Just because, you know, to create a change. And the problem is that technology, which is what a lot of innovation rests on in some way or the other, doesn't let us decide, do I want to do I want to accelerate? Technology is accelerating. You can't undo email, you can't undo Facebook, you can't undo Instagram. You There's there. Something will take it over, but they're there. You can't undo them. So there's only one direction technology is innovating. So and a lot of that does filter out to the business world. Much of it does. So it also, the students start feeling when they're sitting in a class that, look, this is so outdated from the real world. So in fact, the schools are incentivized if they want to keep the child's attention in a class. The problem is we are not thinking how to keep the child's attention in a class. Either it's driven by grades. Okay, we only make sure the kids are hungry for grades so they'll pay attention, or danda from a parent or from the teacher hovering on their head. Have you done the work? Have you done the work? Have you done the work? And then parents at home saying, have you done the homework? Have you done the homework? Nobody's asking why the kid isn't interested. And so that even the thinking is innovative. If we can't change our thinking, we got to change that first. Okay, we got to think about how can I keep the student more engaged so that he learns automatically by experience, by touch, by what. We don't do any of that stuff. So you got to do that first. And then, so that comes from, and the system is broken. You're right about that. Let me go back to that conversation about the system not being broken. The system is absolutely broken. Just because we get grades and we get kids to college and university doesn't mean it's not broken. Because that still has to happen. Imagine last year in COVID, exams didn't happen. University said, we'll still take you in. Because if 1 year the exams don't happen, the kids still go to college, because there's a whole business cycle that goes from school to college to university to, that cannot stop. So because that can't stop, no matter how broken the education system is, it'll still have to function because it's the business need of the world. So how it gets done, and that's where I'm so excited about at least some entrepreneurs trying to fix it, because that's the only way to fix it. Because systems are not going to be fixed by countries. Countries will copy entrepreneurs what they've done, but it'll come from people like, that I don't know the full name, Mr. Fred at African Leadership Academy, always pushing, and a few other places that I've come across that are trying new things. Summit Public Schools, and they're inspiration. You can just look at what they're doing, and they've admitted that education is broken. You talk to a, look at what the incentives lies. If a teacher in a school says the system is broken, that means they were failing. So they can't admit that. You have to have enough people outside telling them that. Parents have to take the ball game. Parents can't be afraid of what the school will say to them. Okay, no, you don't demand this for us, we'll throw you out. And this happens. Most schools, you can't go and ask for changes. They'll say, you know what, you don't like us, get out. And so they have a mafia, because you can't have your kid be thrown out of a school. So that's a problem. Parents have to make the noise, because the school is not but the problem is schools need to realize that they have to innovate, and it doesn't cost money to innovate. It just requires the will to do more than what you are doing. When people start making money and schools are making enough money, you get into a stupor. You're like, okay, you know what? It's a business. We're slowly generating, and that's fine. Mindset shift. It absolutely is. It's a hunger to innovate. I don't know. I wish that every school at least had 5 different employees that had the hunger to innovate. That would catalyze it. And they were given that leeway too. I'm sorry, but I know the way we're talking about this, because I don't understand how people are not hungry to innovate. Like, how can you not be? Yes, if you are living in a first world country, your life is set, 50% of all your needs are taken care of by the government, like you're living in Finland and Norway, you have no healthcare problems, nothing. Yeah, you can be chilling out. But in this country where nothing works, how can you not want to innovate? It's like, it boggles my mind. So, at times I'm thinking, maybe we should, I think if people saw us talking and saying all these things, they'll say, you know what, I want to talk about this too. And that's the whole purpose of these conversations. Say enough so that people say, no, I believe in that. I want to talk about that too. And that's the whole point of this.
So Bilal, the thing you said about culture, right? And you said student agency, and student agency is a buzzword in educational circles all over the world, right? And do you think that some place like Pakistan can actually create an environment where student agency becomes a central idea, and people are actually even student centered in their, in their approach to education? Because there is this whole, bade hain, badon ko pata hai. There is that cultural element, right, that creeps in no matter what, the izzat and the what I call izzat deficit in the older generation. So it does kind of creep into, it's a blurry line between where you start giving a child some sort of say in what he can do and how he can learn. So what's your take on it? Because that does play a role in Pakistan, right?
It does, and I'm not saying I have the answer to, let's say, you know how, if you're talking about how much control can we give a child about his learning. So it's a practice that even the West is still trying to work around. And I'm not saying that there is one right answer right now, but one can try. You can have one day of the month like that where the child can say, you know what, today I decided to learn this. It doesn't have to be 100% switched, right? And there is also, you give a child choices, and within that they can choose. We don't even let them do that. We don't discuss about, and it's not always about choice. You see, innovation isn't about choice for the child. You don't have to do that even. The point is, you need to keep his learning as top priority. His or her learning. Are they engaged in this learning? Are they learning something? Are they happy learning it? And can they improve themselves by learning this? So, एक तो वो thought, that thought doesn't come in the center of most conversations I hear about education. Most conversation I hear about is just grades. Literally grades. And how to get to a good university. Literally, that's what it is. But when you say, it is risky. Even the West hasn't put students at the center of, like, giving them full agency of what they want to learn. But you know what? You create that by giving us a partial agency. Like, let them learn over time, and then you have to give them some choice, and that's fine, and that's fun. I mean, I see my daughter. I mean, when she's 3, she's in grade 3 right now, and I see her getting some choice sometimes. And it makes her excited. Like, she got to choose the person she wants to play in a play, for example. And though because we want them to, because you said, how does country going to accept that? That's a big problem. I understand that. There's a culture problem in this country where everybody, the teachers feel that they are the boss, they are the god in the class. They have literally, you can't question them. And that has to also change, because what we want to do is, we want to create kids to question that. We want kids to be able to, if you want innovation means that sometimes the old way of doing was wrong. So if we don't show the kids from our own examples, how will we expect them to innovate in the real world? Because we want them to. We agree as a society that we want this, when they graduate, to actually improve the society, which means innovate, which means do things in a better way. So we've got to show them now, okay, look, by example, we want to innovate. But then we have to let them also have some say. And there is a double-edged sword. At times, that freedom can also be perceived as, slight, or, not following orders or disobedience. But that's okay. And we as adults have to learn to live with that. It's their world in the future anyways. But that's the problem. It's like, and I'm sure I'm also guilty of this. But when you have done this enough times as an educator, and you get to a position of years of doing something, you think you know best. And everybody else that comes with an idea says, I'm sorry, but your idea is crap. I know it best. I'm going to do it this way. And then there is no, and I don't believe in full democracy in education, because not everybody knows the right and the wrongs, but you got to be able to listen to somebody's point of view. Let them try to convince you that you're wrong. But you got to listen to them with an open mind and heart. We don't do that at all. Most schools that don't let them, unless it doesn't, if it improves their brand image, they might listen to it. So all these new schools that coming out, at least they are hearing the students somewhat. So the students in these new schools are saying, okay, well, maybe we don't get to say much about how we learn, but other things we can say about, what societies, what food culture we want this. Okay, they got us a canteen, they got us sports. So they give us something, so let's be happy with that. But that's the problem. That's not enough. We're not changing what's happening in a classroom. And it's just sad. I actually thought this COVID would change a lot of things for the better. Yes, we got Zoom, and that's all we got. We really just got Zoom and Google Classroom. Now everybody knows what Google Classroom has become an acronym, GC. I didn't even know. Hey, did you put it on GC? I'm like, what is GC? It's apparently Google Classroom. But innovation is much more than Google Classroom and Zoom. And that's been a problem, because we have problems to solve. And we recognize we need fresher ways to solving them. We recognize it for our city, for our country. We also need it for education. And if the schools don't innovate, then they will be out of business for other new schools that will be coming up to innovate. So this is my call to all the people running schools, that please invest time and money in figuring out how to innovate your curriculum and your approaches to curriculum and your delivery of content. And you got to give teachers the right to experiment, and the right to sometimes be wrong. It's okay. You don't have to always be perfect. And yes, we like structured approaches and all that, but at times, you know what, unstructured is also fun. It's an experiment, and sometimes you can learn a lot of things from experiment.
So Bilal, the idea of innovation basically comes from what you said, a mindset shift. Okay, there is a mindset shift in Pakistan or not?
I don't even know mindset. I think the mindset doesn't exist, so there has to be a mindset shift, because there's a certain mindset for you to be innovating. It is the fact that, hey, I can always learn more. So I'm talking about the mindset of educators, being teachers or school administration. They have to be humble, knowing that whatever we do can be done better. There is always a better way of doing something, a more innovative doing something. Also being humble and having the humility to realize that you could be wrong, and admitting that to people. And there's something very easy to do, but we don't do that. Hey, I was wrong, and there's a better way of doing something. Or I was not efficient enough. Or I can maybe do this better for you. So at the crux of it, it is really a mind shift. So it's really a state of mind. So a mind shift is required, because a state of mind that I talk to, most educators that I've talked to, and most schools, and parents are asking for this. Parents need this. But the problem is they can't go to every school and ask for them because they're afraid. So there are pockets of conversation. You and I both know parents are dying. I mean, you look at some of these Facebook groups, they're asking for schools that are most innovative. They're not even asking for the brand name of the school as much as their innovative approaches, because they know the brand name. They want to know who's tackling the problem of the child's education in a better, more holistic way. So the schools need to realize that it needs to be a mind shift change. And it can be triggered by themselves learning more, by themselves being more, inspired by others. And the teachers have to also be, we could say, convinced, or at least let be. Because most teachers at start do want to be innovative. Nobody starts off by being boring. They want to be innovative. And the problem is that we don't let them be. So as far as, you could talk about a mindset is concerned, I look at it from my example. I mean, I always feel after doing this for 20 years that I can do better every year. So that's where first my innovation comes. And every year I'm trying to innovate. And it's not like I'm doing something special. It's part of the job. Innovating is part of the job. In every job you have to innovate. Nothing is working like it was 20 years ago. So we are all innovating. The problem is that we don't let that trickle down to schools. So it's a mind shift, or it's a state of mind, let me say this, that people need to have. That, look, we need to be accepting that we can be better. And sometimes you also accept that students can be correct and we can be wrong, or they'll have better ideas than we do. We don't let that happen also. And yes, it's a cultural thing also, but at the same time, it's more of an age thing. It doesn't just happen in Pakistan. Most places, we don't let our children feel that they can correct us, even though they are at times right and we are wrong, but we don't let them do that. So as we are a very proud nation of that, we can never be wrong. And if somebody ever calls us out on something, we are always ready to fight back. We never accept that we could be wrong. So it is same mindset in schools also. The schools have been existing for 20, 30 years. They'll say this, there's a reason we've been existing for 20, 30 years. We know what to do. We know what's right. Just because you've been getting a kid in every year doesn't mean you'll get the kid in the next year. I mean, examples of companies that have been running for 80 years, shut down one day. Kodak, biggest example. Because even if they innovated, they didn't pass on the innovation to the customer. They hid it. Because they knew what was coming, they didn't change. They got
Toys R Us
completely. So there's so many other examples, and we've seen schools shut down also. I've seen some schools shut down, and this has happened in front of me. So, and I think that if you have more and more schools come in, maybe that might be a way to people to start realizing, okay, things can change. I encourage parents to think about setting up small schools. You don't have to set up schools that are big as 500 students. 30 kids, small one-room schools, one-house schools can be possible. It's not the campus that makes education. It's a mindset. And when I see a child from grade 1, the biggest difference from a child in grade 1 and 2 to grade 11 is that by the time they reach grade 11 and 12, they become followers, not leaders. They don't question anything. They just accept what it is. They don't like it, but they have no choice. So they just do it because it's supposed to be done. But you see you could say a twinkle or a light in somebody's eye when they're in younger grades. They're always excited about education. And somehow we beat that out of them by the time they come to 11th grade.
Absolutely. I think any parent in Pakistan would vouch for that. Bilal, do you get backlash for innovating? Because
All the time, because I've been told it's a waste of money. So innovation and obviously is going to be spending money. And sometimes you're going to waste money because sometimes you're going to go down a path that doesn't work out for you. So you got to find a new path. So it always is not going to be cost efficient. But that's what I get. I get backlash for that. Then I get backlash for, look, we can't let students do this. Or third, there are not enough teachers who think like you who have to do that. So nobody wants to innovate. The funny thing is, when I meet younger educators and people who are just starting out, they're all for it. It's those who have very high stakes right now are all against it because they also know their status quo will have to change, and that might be a problematic because they might not be able to fit in the new system. It's like the same argument bus drivers have with the Tesla trucks. The truck drivers are saying we're going to be out of business because they know they can't learn the new technology. So they're going to resist self-driven cars because, So we're on that, and I get backlash. Not that everywhere. So sometimes they'll let me do it because as long as it's done in my classroom. But if it goes against the systems of the school, no. Some will give you leeway because of your status in that school, but that's about it. So, but like I said, when I look examples of other educators, younger ones that I'm friends with, they are definitely not. They're anything they want to innovate. If it goes against what the school is already doing, they are shut down right away.
Bilal, there is a philosophy that says you should fail fast and often. Have you heard of that?
Oh, that's my life actually. And I think what people don't realize is that failing fast and often is about smaller incremental changes and fails that you have tested in the market right away, and then you incrementally improve what you're doing. So you don't have to fail big. You fail small and fail fast. And I think that because we are teaching this whole generation about innovation, because we know our ticket out of this misery as a country and as economical place we are at is only through innovation. So if we're going to teach our kids for innovation, we better be ready for innovation. We got to show them by example that we can innovate, because there's obviously teaching for innovation is a whole different conversation I want to have. But if you want to at least inspire kids to be innovative, you got to show them the innovation yourself. So this is a call out to all the schools and administrators and teachers out there that understand that innovation isn't just going to happen, not there because you want to beat the next guy in the market. Just innovation is needed by our children. I mean, it's their right that we innovate. They're needing us to do it better than we had it for ourselves. We can't keep doing it. Yes, we've removed corporal punishment in most private schools, but that's not just the only innovation we needed. Not just by making schools co-ed is the innovation we need. We need much more deeper thought out innovation. And yes, trial and error, fail fast. And then the schools have to give the lever to teachers to try and fail. It's okay if they try and fail, but you got to also help them try. You just can't say, okay, you have an idea, go do. You got to help them facilitate. You got to give them resources for that. You got to give them support for that. And yes, it's expensive. But then I think that not innovating is even more expensive for everybody.
There is a cost attached, which is
absolutely
different.
And I think parents, make your voices heard. I know parents out there all want schools to innovate. I'm not saying every school is bad, but I'm sure most parents can find some things can improve in a school. Make it heard, because if they hear it from everybody, then they can't throw all of you out, right? So be heard and be heard loudly. And I'm going to continue speaking on this, again and again on this issue and more. Because I think this is needed. And I think that's one of the things I can give back. And I'd love to talk about this more.
All right. This was great, Bilal. But yes, it's an ongoing conversation.
And I hope to see you next time also on this. All right.
That will be great.
Yeah. Till next week, huh?
All right.
All right.
See you then.
See you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.